welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I am excited because it is the culmination of all of our work this year. It is Game of the Year season.
Yes, it is also our last episode for the year before we go on break. But
break.
Break is good. We get to catch up on video games. So do you
Sleep.
guys. We also have each of the crew's top 3 picks for Game of the Year this episode.
We have Old Game Plus looking at their favourite retro remake of the year, and we wrap up all the major news items from 2015.
Yes, and we have a New Game Plus total for Game of the Year as well.
It's exciting, so let's just get straight into it. Just like every other year, 2015 was a good year for gaming. There are so many this year in particular that it's almost hard to put them into a list.
2013 was quite stagnant, so was 2014. But 2015, usually it's the time we start reflecting on Game of the Year, but we still keep playing all these games that we missed out on.
So we've had a few really great blockbuster games that have been actually surprisingly good.
Games like Rocket League that I've put probably over 100 hours into without even realizing, just those little gems that have made this year very good.
And we've had a lot of nice, just normal games that have just, wasted a little bit of my time here and there, and they were just fun.
You had the locally made Expand, which did so much with its seemingly limited toolset.
You got some ones with some merit like Batman Arkham Knight or Fallout 4.
StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. I have high hopes for the future of both the competitive scene and the online scene, and a lot of the arcade stuff with that game as well.
And then you had Ori and the Blind Forest, which had some of the tightest mechanics and art style of this year.
Look, there are a lot of really great games released in 2015. This was hard to pick.
Honorable mentions go to Bloodborne.
Bloodborne. Well, it's one of the games where you really want to buy a PS4 just for this game. It's that good.
There's been a lot of huge releases, some of which I still haven't got around to finishing.
It looks amazing. It looks absolutely perfect. Well, maybe not perfect. It looks a little bit more messy than Dark Souls though.
The awesome stylings and the aesthetic, as well as the mechanically pleasing stylings of Bloodborne, made it to my 3rd Game of the Year.
And oh, what's that over there? It's some kind of zombie thing? I think I can take it.
Great game, had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, there was another zombie behind the door.
The Transformers Devastation. I love Transformers, and yeah, I understand if no one else does, but I love them, and this was done in such a retro way that it just brought back nostalgia in spades.
For my 2nd and my 1st, I'm kind of divided.
Maybe Metal Gear Solid 5, just for, I guess, the mechanics. Maybe not the game itself. I didn't have the best experience with the game, like compared to Undertale, but the game mechanics just was really well done put.
There is no surprise that I absolutely adored this game from start to finish. I even played about 100 plus hours worth of it, so there's definitely some sort of addictive qualities there.
It ran silky smooth and looked beautiful, even on consoles. And this is a year where the console versions of games haven't been so grand.
Everything from the Fox engine, rendering beautifully detailed environments, as well as the characters and their expressions, really drove forth this amazing narrative tour de force.
In terms of storytelling, it did the usual Metal Gear Solid thing of nuclear proliferation, and it even had the gumption to subvert its own storytelling mechanics in its end. But ultimately, the thing that sticks with me most for Metal Gear Solid is just the mechanics of stealthing around, because the game gives you a true stealthing sandbox. You can approach missions any way you want. You can go around silently following everyone, or you can go in all guns blazing.
Along with the gameplay as well, where everything was about adaptability and everything from loadouts and being able to improvise right at the end, just in case things go really pear-shaped.
Not to mention the room for improvisation. I'm sure everyone is guaranteed to have their own story about how they accidentally engineered a solution to a major problem. Now, considering Hideo Kojima has now left Konami, this is going to be his lasting legacy, and you know what? I can't think of a better note to end the Metal Gear franchise on.
My Game of the Year would be Rise of the Tomb Raider, which came out on 360, which most people didn't realise. It was a lot like the previous one, but it was also a lot like the original ones. There was a lot more exploring, there's a lot more physics puzzles, but it was also a linear game, but with 2 major areas that were open world, which you can explore for hours, collecting salvage, making your weapons better, and learning skills.
So I've got to give my Game of the Year to Undertale.
The indie surprise from Toby Fox, this game is an absolute triumph of game design.
Maybe not the best game as per se, but the best experience I've had with the game. The great music that it had in the game just really drew me in. Story drew me in again even more, just made me connect with the characters. Then there was like the gameplay, which was inventive and just slightly different than everything else that I had played before.
So the game is this exceptional tale of humanity and inhumanity, along with this bullet hell retro aesthetic, which is absolutely pleasing to the eye, to the ears, and to your heart.
It was just a really, really nice experience. It was one of the games that literally made me feel like I shouldn't reset the game, because that literally resets all the characters and how it ends and everything. I'm just like, that's the first time I've had that kind of feeling. I didn't want to reset the game to play it again because I didn't want to break up the characters.
So be sure, I recommend you wholeheartedly to go check out Undertale.
Mind-blowing.
For me, the game of the year for 2015 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
No surprises here, my game of the year is Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt.
Now, there's been a lot of open world games released in 2015, and a lot of pretty good ones. You've got Just Cause 3, you've got Metal Gear Solid 5.
Well, it is possibly the best Western RPG that has been made, to my knowledge. I'm sure people would disagree with that, but I absolutely loved it.
The story is amazing, I love the characters, the game looks really nice, the music's incredible.
As well as that, they had the expansion Hearts of Stone, which was fantastic on its own. Another 10 plus hours gameplay in just the standalone story.
But to me, the way it really comes together is the world. It feels just alive and I want to spend more, even though it's kind of a sucky world, it kind of does a really good job of telling a story. Like, I loved going through Velen and just seeing how much of a shithole it was.
It's probably worth its own nomination, but if you can certainly get your hands on Witcher 3 this year and actually play all the way through it, it is one of the best narratives going around.
I love going through Novigrad because it reminded me that I really wanted this to be Dragon Age 2.
Great gameplay mechanics, lots of fun, lots of things to do.
And I love going through Skellige because, holy crap, it made me want to go play, actually give Skyrim a real serious shot. It was that great.
And I really can't wait to get back and play New Game Plus.
So Tim, as much as I don't want to say it because it means that it isn't the game of the year, New Game Plus's third place game of the year for 2015 is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
And it's certainly a very deserving game of being up there as well.
Yeah, although it deserves higher, let's be honest. But like, it is just a mastercraft in open world stealth gameplay.
It is, and it's a very fitting goodbye for Hideo Kojima as he exits the franchise, as it's now a Konami property.
Although that whole exercise just seems like the most Kojima thing possible, isn't it? He subverted our expectations with Metal Gear Solid 2 when he replaced Snake with Raiden.
Yeah.
And how many times? He was doing this from the very start. Remember when this was by Moby Dick Games and was just called The Phantom Pain?
Yeah.
So like I half anticipated that this whole Kojima leaving is just another trick, but it doesn't seem like that. But at least he's left us quite the series ender. Welcome to the end of 2015. It was a year that Taylor Swift ascended to her next form. Some llamas went on the loose, and it was the year you had some very awkward conversations with your parents about BDSM. Although 50 Shades of Grey was a tragic movie, not a dry seat in the house. Although video games did come out in 2015, although given some of the news items, they almost didn't. Remember back in January when the Australian Classification Board banned the sale of Hotline Miami 2 in Australia? Now, raise your hands if you got a copy of the game in spite of this. Now, let me let you in on a TV secret. I can actually see you. So let me just take your names down for blackmail purposes. So thank you, Barbara. Thank you, John. Thank you, Frank. Oh God, Frank. For the love of God, get your hands out of your pants and put on a shirt. God. And wipe those damn watermarks off you as well. It's unseemly. But as the months went on, more and more video games got pushed into 2016, including Uncharted 4, The Legend of Zelda for Wii U, Persona 5, Tom Clancy's The Division, Hitman, Quantum Break, Mighty No. 9, Ratchet and Clank. I'm awake. Oh, and Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. That also got pushed back to 2016. Although, no matter how long you spend on that game, with a subtitle like Fire and Ice, you're just asking for lukewarm reviews. Oh, I'll be nice. I swear. Although even games of 2014 didn't want to be involved in 2015. In April, Konami pulled PT, the horror demo, off the PlayStation Store. This was unprecedented at the time, and they went on to cancel the development of Hideo Kojima's Silent Hills. Appropriately enough, this came as a shock to many horror fans. Now, the relationship between Kojima and Konami just became icier over the course of the year. In June, Konami almost spitefully scrubbed Hideo Kojima's name from the cover of The Phantom Pain, although they missed out on like 250 other spots in the game.
What took you so long?
Then in August, the Nikkei published an article which portrayed Konami as this Orwellian wonderland, one where employees are under constant supervision, where latecomers are named and shamed, and where employees who are no longer wanted are exiled to work in the patchy slot factories or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kojima ended up working as a personal trainer in one of Konami's health clubs. Thankfully, he managed to escape this fate by leaving the company in October, which is probably for the best. He wouldn't be a good personal trainer. His sessions would just involve a 40-minute lecture on nuclear proliferation and proper squatting technique. And come to think of it, how the hell would you even press the action button to do a push-up anyway, Kojima? But aside from the demise of Kojima Productions, we also saw other studios close, such as Maxis Emeryville, who were responsible for such quality titles as SimCity, and lesser titles, like SimCity. And also, Australia lost one of its last AAA developers when 2K Australia closed its doors.
That's it for today's Nintendo Direct.
On a global level, the gaming community lost one of its most prominent figures, CEO and president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata. His legacy will live on in games and gamers for decades to come. But despite this loss, Nintendo actually had a pretty good 2015. It signed a mobile partnership with company DNA, and the Wii U had lots of quality games on it, including Xenoblade Chronicles X, Super Mario Maker, and Splatoon. Indeed, those two games with their online functionality, it marks the moment that Nintendo finally learned how to use the internet. Lord help us when they decided to learn how to use internet pornography. But the future of gaming is bright, although that might just be a sign that you've turned your VR headset's brightness on just a little too high. Just look at E3, where every possible bombshell you could think of was dropped. The Last Guardian, it's coming out next year. Final Fantasy VII HD Remake, it's really real, though it's in episodic form. And then there's Shenmue 3. Oh boy, you better start a Kickstarter campaign for a fresh new pair of pants, sir. Although you probably won't make as much as Shenmue 3 actually did. It made its $2 million goal in 8 hours before going on to raise $6.3 million, which is enough to buy 677 actual forklifts. Now, when these games are finally released in 2049 or whatever, we'll look back on 2015 as the year that much of the foundations for bigger things to come were laid. Whether it be something like the legitimization of esports or something as small as the self-regulated classification system that's being trialled in Australia at the moment. 2016 will be the execution of much of 2015's planning. Well, at least we still have the blue dress, I guess.
White dress.
Shut up. And that is everything that has happened in the world of 2015 ever.
Welcome to Old Game Plus, and there's a lot of HD remakes and stuff this year of previous generation games, but there's also some re-releases of some really nice retro games this year as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of last gen games. We've got the remake like God of War, Gears of War, those kind of things. But there was also some older titles that a lot of people wouldn't have played that got the HD treatment and also added features. So some of those games, like Capcom, really came to the party this year. So they had Devil May Cry 4 was one of their big ones, with extra characters, extra costumes and things like that, as well as the HD makeover. And same with Resident Evil. The original Resident Evil got a new control scheme, which is always good.
That was the scariest part I found of the original Resident Evil, the controls.
Yes.
that was frightening.
That was the horror.
I had to hide behind the couch with the controller in front of me because that was a scary bit. So I'm glad they redid the controls. There's other games they redid the controls for too, wasn't there? Like Grim Fandango.
Yeah, so they made it more of a point and click kind of game rather than they had the tank controls like Resident Evil as well. Some other stuff they did with that, they got the original art assets of Disney, who own LucasArts now, and redid the lighting models and the textures and everything, and it looks really, really nice. And if you can play it, please play it, because it's a great game. And trying to play the old version on a new computer needs so many legacy drivers and DOSBox and so many emulators and stuff that
Fun of retro.
Yes, so the re-release is really worth playing, and they've made it easier for other people to experience.
There was also a game I'd almost go so far so that they got a HD re-release, Shadow Complex. Not that old, but I'd do the same thing. I'd say go grab it. Really good, fun game. It looked good originally, but now you can grab it on your PC and play it.
Yeah.
And I like when those games are released because it's a little bit like, you know how you can buy all your music again when it's on CD from the
remastered, digitally remastered.
You need to do more of that in games. I think it's great to have those old classics still around. I mean, imagine if they never released a Beatles song ever again because that was last gen sort of thing. Now the game of the year, or the best retro re-release of the year. You'd nominate?
It's a hard decision because there's been a lot. I'd nominate Grim Fandango, but Nintendo also came to the party. A lot of their old Master System and Mega Drive games got the 3D treatment, and also they had the Majora's Mask, Zelda.
Yeah, a lot of Yu Suzuki games, didn't they?
Yes.
An underrated game developer and game designer.
Yes.
Responsible
so Outrun 3D on 3DS.
Yeah. I'd say my favourite for this year was Grandia 2. I played it originally on the Dreamcast. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful story.
You can even use your old saves.
I haven't worked out how to do that because I've got some level 60 characters on the old Dreamcast thing. But Grandia 2 was a highlight. I played it again with the kids, read through all the stuff. It's really nice. I really enjoyed it. And Rito sounds a lot like Sonic, so that was a extra special touch for me. So Grandia 2 is mine, and yours?
Mine would be Grim Fandango.
And runner-up for New Game Plus's Game of the Year is Undertale.
And a deserved one too. Here is a game which very much came out of nowhere to win the hearts of everyone. I know Shane and Cardi, for one, they especially love this game and put it super highly on their Game of the Year lists.
Yes, certainly. With narrative-driven experiences, it's very strange to see something that didn't have a huge lead-up, huge marketing campaigns to have such a big impact on its players.
Yeah, and it's such a unique little thing as well. It's like its style, it's throwback, but unique at the same time. Its combat mechanics, like it's turn-based combat meets bullet hell. You don't even have to actually directly fight your enemies. Since I've played the first hour of this game, but even then, it's shown some of the potential, some of its humor, and more importantly, some of its heart. So yes, it is a very worthy title as New Game Plus 2015 runner-up Game of the Year. I believe hype would be very much the word to describe our trailer of the year.
Yes, so New Game Plus's trailer of the year is the Final Fantasy VII Remake reveal from E3 2015.
As in just the crowds just roaring immediately after that word remake popped up, because we'd been teased so many times of, hey, here's Final Fantasy VII coming to the PlayStation 4 as the PC port.
Yes, and the way it was slowly revealed as well, and then it focuses in on Cloud Sword, everyone just loses their mind. It was a very well teased out trailer.
It's like it's a sort of masterclass in delayed gratification to the fans. It was almost tantric. Although let's not picture Cloud and tantric in any way whatsoever. But instead, let's just show you the trailer in question.
I'm washing in the 21st century, doing something clean to it, washing harder than an...
Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts. In its wake came an age of silence. Yet with each fond remembrance, we knew those encountered were not forgotten. That someday we would see them again. Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking. But after the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy. It may bring fear. But let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.
For another year running, I will not be bringing you a Game of the Year. Why? Because I spent more time playing Magic and watching movies and reading comics. But today I'm here to talk about movies. Now, there's quite a few films that I enjoyed this year, but I want to talk about my top 3. Now, my third film, The Martian, was sort of an epic sci-fi film where Matt Damon is stranded on Mars. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Gravity, but not quite as visually spectacular, but a lot more grounded and a lot more interesting in terms of story and character. So that was something that was really great. I also enjoyed Sucker, which is a coming-of-age story about a sort of a young Australian, Asian Australian who's learning how to be a con man, kind of falling in love and sort of finding his own feet at the same time. And that was really cool. But my number 1 film of the year, Love and Mercy, which is the story of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys as he sort of is writing his masterpieces like Pet Sounds and Smile, and then also the later years where he's kind of controlled by his manager. Now, 2 actors play Brian Wilson. The first is Paul Dano, you should remember from There Will Be Blood, and also John Cusack, High Fidelity. And sort of to see the before and after, so to speak, was a really great contrast in the character and how he sort of developed and how he's sort of gone into his own shell. But it also really does a really great job of getting a sense of the music and how he created. So all 3 films are definitely worth watching.
Well, as part of All Game Plus, I'm a big fan of retro games and I love a good text adventure. So my game of 2015 is a massive multiplayer online psychological horror called Twitter. Now, there's not a lot of AI in this game, or in fact a lot of I. You'll get a better chat sometimes if you boot up an old copy of Eliza. Boss battles can be a little bit confronting when you find out your favourite celebrity or columnist is legitimately insane in real life. And PvP battles can often result in rage quitting. Despite that, I had a lot of fun with Twitter this year, and at times some of the shitposting and trolling is genuinely entertaining, but I wouldn't recommend playing it for long periods of time because unlocking the full set of mental disorders in other Twitter players can be a little bit depressing. So my game of 2015, definitely Twitter. I recommend don't play it.
So it's all come down to this, New Game Plus's Game of the Year for 2015, and Timmy, the winner is...
Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. What a fantastic game coming out of the Polish studio CD Projekt Red. I think basically everyone that I've spoken to that picked up this game has had an amazing time with it.
As in, they've all just waxed so much lyrical about the depth of the game's mechanics, of the moral ambiguity of the story, of Gwent, for goodness sake.
Of sex on a unicorn. That is one of the big focuses of a CD Projekt Red game.
Of course.
But the world itself is always refreshing to see. It's not always good and bad. There's choices that don't always have a happy ending.
No.
And it's one of those games that just create stories that you'll be talking to your friends about, and it's always unique experiences in how you approach situations, and it was just a fantastic game that I cannot get enough of.
And these are all just sort of landmark things that we look for in a Game of the Year. Games that sort of leave an impression in our minds, and Witcher 3 very much did that with many on the New Game Plus crew.
Yes, but that is it for this year, in fact.
2015.
Yes.
2016 promises to be a massive year in gaming, and we hope that you stick with us at New Game Plus as we delve into it with you, the viewer.
Yes, but over the Christmas break, be sure to visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
Follow Twitter and Instagram at NewGamePlusTV.
And follow us on YouTube and Twitch. We are New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next year.